Even after 20, 30 years, whenever you look back to your research days, you should have encouragement. You should be able to recall those days, and you should be able to make use of your research. So that's my first point, the importance of choosing a topic. We'll come back later. The topic given to me is research proposal. I may not discuss everything in detail, but what is research proposal? Can you just briefly see? It is nothing but the outline of the entire research process. In research proposal, you will have to have everything. It's not only document, but the cornerstone of the research process. It will provide you a comprehensive overview of your research, how you are going to do your research, blueprint, foundation or cornerstone of how you are planning to carry out your research. In brief, I would say it is research proposal. Convincing yourself, convincing the audience, convincing your examiners, anyone going through your thesis, dissertation, must know more about your work. They also must be convinced about your findings. So, in brief, this is what I call research proposal. Foundation, cornerstone, or an outline of your research, how you want to go about it. So within this, the rest will follow. Yes. Every research proposal will have three main goals, objectives. First, importance or significance of this study. You have to present and justify the relevance of studying a research problem. That could be 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 problems. But you will have to choose some of them. You cannot have 10, 20 objectives. Okay. So, depending on the problem, nature of the problem of the research, you will have to come down and choose few objectives which you think are more crucial and important. So, you should be able to present it. At the same time, you should be able to justify why research is necessary, why you should undertake research on this problem. Second, practical way to undertake proposed research. You will have to see how you are going to carry forward. Yes, I see it should be viable. It should be specific. That's second specific objective. Third, you have to follow certain rules and procedures. You cannot just pick a topic, and then you cannot just do things in your own way, but you will have to follow certain rules and procedures. Otherwise, your objective, your analysis, your methodology would not be appropriate. So, continuity must be there. First, you have to choose a topic, you have to present it, and you have to justify it. Then the practical part of it, how you are going to carry this research. And then you have to follow certain methodological precisions. You cannot have your own methodologies. So, step by step, you have to follow all this. Next, these are the three specific goals of research proposal. Can we go to next? Yeah. Regardless of the research problem being investigated and the method selected to examine that problem, all research proposals must address three key questions closely related to those three specific objectives that we have just discussed. First, what do you intend to achieve? You must have some goals and objectives in carrying out that research. Okay. So first question is, what do you intend to achieve by carrying out or undertaking this research? Second, why do you want to do it? Third question, how will you do it? So it's closely related to three specific objectives which we discussed earlier. Be clear and succinct in defining research problem and what you propose to investigate. What do you intend to achieve? To achieve something, you have to be very clear and specific in defining the research problem, all problems. And then, what you propose to investigate. You have identified the problem. But identifying the problem is not enough. Within that problem, there must be some issues related. Okay? So how are you going to investigate those issues and problems within that research problem? How will you do it? As I said, your proposed research must be viable, feasible, never be over ambitious. You have sufficient time. Ensure that you have enough time, resources, and stamina, patience. In research, you have to have patience. You should be passionate about your topic and research, but you should also have patience. Sometimes your supervisors may not be always available. Even to get signatures, you have to wait for 2-3 days. Never think it happened to you a lot. Even we all came across all this. Some people shed tears. Some people thought of dropping. All these hurdles will come. And remember, all these painful exercises, I must say, are very much part of research. You have to learn patience. You'll come back, you'll come to know all this when you are in colleges or universities supervising scholars. Be patient about your topic, at the same time, have patience. Your supervisors may not be always available, may not be always prepared to listen to you. To me, as I said, it's a part of research. Academic research is one part, but at the same time you have to have all this painful exercise. Not painful, but later on you'll know how should this process experiences are. So, what do you intend to achieve? Let's recall your topics right now. What are the goals that you intend to achieve? And your findings. You have to think about your findings. Every day, every moment, you go through certain books all about your research. My findings, if I look at this way, what would be my findings? After all, the outcome of your research is more important. You have to have outcomes. Then again we will come back later briefly. So, research questions. These three research questions are very, very crucial. Be sure how you intend to achieve by undertaking this research. Why do you think it's important? Significance of it. And then how will you do it? Stamina is very, very important. You may not have problems with time, resources, but you have to have stamina to carry on your work. There will be setbacks, barriers. Sometimes you may not be able to write one paragraph in a day. We all experience that. Never give up. Sometime around midnight, you'll be able to write so many things. Many ideas will come to you. Even if you sit the whole day in the library, you may not be able to produce anything out. But never lose interest. Keep on doing. And the day will come when you will report those days, when you don't achieve anything. But again, this is also a part of research. Research doesn't mean that you will have to come with findings every day. Your failures are also part of your research. Never think that findings should happen every now and then. No. Even your failures are very much a part of your research. I hope I am clear. I am trying to make it very simple. Okay. Yes, let's go to next. Again, closely related issues. Techniques on preparing a research proposal. Again, what do I want to study? It comes back. Why is the topic significant within my particular field of study? What problems will this research help solve? As I said, it could be social, it could be environmental, it could be governance, it could be economic, it could be anything, depending on your area of research. You have to ask yourself again. Yes, the day will come when you have to go to a field, interacting with people at the grassroots level, or at different level. But you will have to ask yourself every day, again and again, why, how? So, why the topic is significant? And by doing this, am I going to contribute something to the society? Whether my research topic is relevant or not, your interest and supervisor's interests, okay, fine. But you will have to see the outcome. What will be your contributions? If you don't have relevance, people will not be interested to go through your work or thesis or dissertation or whatever. How does it build upon and go beyond previous research? What is important in research is not to duplicate works done by other scholars. You have to go beyond previous findings and research. For that, you have to go through those existing literature to make sure that you don't duplicate somebody's work. That's a very serious issue. So you have to go beyond previous findings and research. What exactly should I plan to? Again, why, what, how? Can I complete it within time available? Time and resources. As I said, is of the same issues. We are just framing in different forms. So you have seen what is research proposal. You have seen those three specific objectives and goals, and then three specific questions, and again these 6 question. To start with your research, writing, a good starting point is to ask yourself a series of questions. Otherwise, you will get lost. Always carry a notebook. Whether you go out or waiting for bus, spending time, something will come into your mind. Going through newspapers, going through some books, journals. Note it down. Especially when it has relevance to your study. Never trust yourself. I know you are a genius, but it's always good to take note of all this and use in relevant situations and places, not only in your research. Let's go to next. Components of research proposal. It's not comprehensive. I have another 30 minutes. I think I'll be able to complete it. Title of the research. You cannot choose a topic without going through existing literature. Appropriate title. Must be specific, direct, concise, meaningful, and comprehensive. Don't try to have long titles. It should be direct, focused, precise, comprehensible, meaningful, interesting to everyone. Any reader, audience must be able to take interest in your work. Just seeing the topic. Before going through the dissertation or thesis, everyone will try to look at the topic, title of your research. And people will be able to make out of your title. They will have their own thoughts, imaginations. Oh, this title is very attractive. The scholar must be finding some new things, new discoveries, findings. So anyone seeing your title must have the interest to go through your work. Okay, so title must be short, precise, focused, comprehensible, meaningful, and interesting. Of course, you will have to indicate objectives, chapterization issues that you raise in the statement of the problem. You cannot just say beautiful, attracting topic, but based on your literature review, statement of the problem, objective, chapterization, everything. So, a well-crafted title can capture the reader's attention and establish the tone for the remainder of the proposal, making it a crucial component of the research program. Title is very, very important. But let's go to next. Introduction. Okay, before we go to introduction, sometime, not in the PhD synopsis, if you go for research proposal, the sponsoring institutions would ask you to write an abstract of your research, proposed research. Okay. Sometimes they will say up to 250, 300 words. Again, it varies from institution to institution. But they will ask you also to identify some keywords which you use very often in your research. Again, sometime 4 to 5, 5 to 7, whatever. Okay. Again, keep in mind those keywords must be in order of relevance. You get my point? Supposing you work on governance, let's say your topic is on governance, and you have some issues there. Let's say public participation. If you think this is the most important relevant word, that word should come first. Okay. So I say in order of relevance, not on preference. So you have to choose those keywords carefully. The most relevant should come first. The most relevant keyword should come first, and then second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever number they ask for. In order of relevance. Don't put those keywords randomly. Okay. Yeah. If time permits, we'll come back later. So this is introduction. Introduction could be, especially in your synopsis, 3 paragraphs at the most. Sometimes we don't give so much importance to the introduction. Even article, even in a research proposal, even in your synopsis. Okay. Your introduction must address few questions. Central research problem. Main focus of your research. You may not be able to explain in detail, but you should be able to answer the central question of your research in the introduction. You should be able to mention. And then how it relates to the problem and the methods that you are going to use. Will not be in detail. And why it is important to do research. And then significance of your research proposal and outcome, expected outcomes. Sometimes we are called to scrutinize those research proposals by ICSR and then UGC and other research institutions. Outcomes, significance, these are given importance. What will be the outcome of the research proposal? Significance of it. If it is so significant, then outcomes also will be significant. So in the introduction, please keep in mind all these questions. You need to briefly address. We don't expect you to give details of all this, but it is an art. You should be able to impress your examiner, anyone going through your work. They will see the introduction carefully. If serious researchers go through your work, especially if it goes for scrutiny, review of your work for fellowship or whatever. Sorry. I went to my friend's house last night. I came back around 11. Almost. Yeah. A new channel to whom they are significant. It could be important or substantial for policymakers, practitioners, or even the general public. The outcome of your research must be relevant to all these policymakers, practitioners, and even to the masses. general public. Yeah. Can you go to next? Yeah, this is about the abstract that I talk about. If you are asked to submit an abstract of your research proposal, it should provide an overview of what you intend to study, your primary research question, methods used to answer it, and your expected findings. It may be 300 words, 400 words, but within this, you should be able to capture all this. Primary research question, methods that you are going to use, and answer those research questions, and your findings, expected findings or outcomes. Keywords rank in order of relevance to your study. Yeah, let's go to next. Statement of the problem. Before literature review, or sometime literature review would come first, whatever. Statement of the problem is one important component of research proposal. What is this all about? Generally, in the statement of the problem, you are expected to clarify the background of your proposal and explain why it is crucial to conduct this research thoroughly. Unless you give something historical background, you may be aware of it, but others will not be aware of what you are planning to do. So in a statement of the problem, your duty is to mention something about background of your proposal and why you want to undertake this research. So background information and relevance, and you have to see indication of the unexplored nature of the issue. In the statement of the problem, you should be able to mention clearly that the issues that you are going to examine or undertake are new. You are not going to duplicate someone's work. Okay? So unexplored nature of the research problem. And then knowledge gap. Sometimes we call it research gap. You have to see the background, relevance of your study, and see to it that you are not duplicating. And then you'll be able to establish the knowledge gap. Previous research or researchers look at this dimension from that perspective using this methodology. So the proposed study will look into issues beyond existing knowledge. So you have to fill up this gap. And reasons for undertaking the research. Knowledge gap or research questions, and reasons for undertaking the research. We'll mention more about it, but for the time being, this is statement of problem. You have to give something about the background, relevance of your study. You want to establish the gap, research gap, your outcomes, everything. Yes. This is the most difficult part, most important to me. Unless you go for literature review, you will not be able to start your research. So what is this literature review? I know many of you have gone through this process. The most time-consuming but the most valuable. Most time consuming, but most valuable. Why? If you don't review the existing literature on the proposed research, you will not be able to identify the past studies, previous research, okay, which is very crucial. So you have to identify past studies or previous research. So this would involve reviewing and synthesizing prior research to demonstrate that your work is not only original but innovative, inspiring, and motivating to the audience. My work is original. It is innovative, it's inspiring, and it's motivating. You should be guided by all these spirits. You'll be able to come up with all this once you will look back to previous research. So you are on a very strong ground. Even if somebody says or raise question, you should be able to stand firm and say, I've gone through the literature. Previous research were carried out to prove that from their perspective, I'm looking at this problem from this perspective. Hence, my research is original, it's innovative, inspiring, and motivating. At any stage in your life, you should be able to answer your critics. You should be the final authority to convince anyone raising questions about your work, authenticity or originality of your work. Okay. Let's go to next. The so-called C5 of writing and literature, citing, comparing, contrasting, critiquing, connecting. We call it 5 C's. In literature review, you have to have these 5 C's. Cite or citing. Don't forget to cite somebody's work. Give credit to those scholars, those persons who work on certain issues. Give credit where credit is due. Okay. Maintain a primary focus on the literature relevant to your research problem. This can be done once you are able to cite or quote somebody's work. But your primary focus should be on your research. Cite whatever references are made. Never forget, as I said, give credit to those people. They work a lot, they work hard. Very often scholars or writers will say as quoted without trying to look into the original work. As quoted by so and so in this book. Never do that. If somebody says as quoted in that book written by so and so, try to follow that original work. Okay. One big problem faced by today's generation is current affairs. Even in referencing, we can easily make up. Whether you read by yourself or you just follow that shortcut method, current affairs. Maybe even be able to. Easy. So, if that happens, go to original source, original text. Very careful. Be careful in giving all these references. So, citing those relevant literature so that you'll be able to maintain your focus area. Comparing. When you go through those literatures, what you have to do is assess the arguments put forward by those scholars, writers, theories and methodologies and findings of previous scholars. Their arguments for and against, theories used by them, or concepts used by those previous scholars, methodologies, what methodologies they use, and what are their findings. Again here, one big question is, you may ask yourself and you may question why only these methodologies and theories and concepts are used by these scholars. Why not use more theories or some particular theories or methodologies? If you are able to do that, it's excellent work. Okay. Not only to understand the arguments put forward by scholars, models, theories, and concepts used by them, even methodologies, if you are able to question them, you are doing excellent now. These methodologies could have been used. These concepts and theories are more appropriate. Why these scholars are not using all these method, theories, and concepts? That will take you to totally different direction, which only few scholars are able to do that. Okay. If you are in a position to do that, you are in select field group. Comparing those arguments expressed in the literature, or do the authors find common ground, who employs similar approaches to analyzing the research problems. Comparing existing literatures, okay, on this ground. Contrasting, again, various arguments, themes, methodologies, approaches, and even controversies presented in the literature. Not only their arguments, areas of dispute and disagreement. The research is all about arguments, counter-arguments. Of course, there is no final truth and answer in social sciences. Even if you use the most appropriate tools and methods, you may not be able to prove everything, as natural sciences do. So that's the uniqueness of social science research. That gives you more space for argument, more space for critical thinking, more space for views and ideas. Universities of ideas, conflicting, disagreement, and finally you have that synthesis. So, okay. Yeah. Areas of disagreement, controversy, and debate. You are looking at, in other words, different colors of flowers in the garden. If you have only one type of flower in a big garden, you will not enjoy it. No. But if you have different colors everywhere in the garden, Then we beautify that garden. And that's the beauty of life. When you have all these conflicts, disagreements, debates, controversies, you have to endure it. Even if somebody criticizes you, take it light. It's a part of human nature. Okay. When somebody appreciates you, think twice. What they appreciate may not be worldly. So take things in a very positive way. Similarly, debates, disagreements, controversies, arguments, counter-arguments must be welcome in research. Critiquing or critique, evaluate the literature critically. Which arguments are more persuasive and why? In research, the question is how, why. You move away from what is this to why this. So, critically evaluate existing literature and see to it which arguments, schools of thought are more convincing and why. Then, connecting, relate the literature to your area of research and investigation. How does your work bring about, diverse from synthesize, what has been accumulated in the literature? Whatever you have gathered from citation to critique, you have to connect it to your research. Okay. By going through all these stages, now you will be able to enrich your research, which to drop, which to include, which issue to exclude. So you will be able to connect it to your focus area, research problem. Keep in mind all these five C's. Let's go to next. See, literature review, before I forget. Peer review journals should be given top priority. Edited books by different scholars. And whenever you review a book, try to know something about the author or authors. Some persons will write so many books without any research work, just for business. See to that the work or literature that you are going to review are from serious researchers. For that, you begin with peer review journals. Whenever you send your articles to those peer review journals, they will send it to 3-4 experts who will give their comments. And the author will incorporate all those suggestions. So in that sense, these are well research papers. If you review those literature, of course relevant to your area of research, then it will give you many insights about that article. Books, as I said, edited by renowned scholars. They may not be sent to reviewers, but generally these are authentic. Edited books are far better than single author. I'm not saying you neglect all these single authors, but try to see the background of those scholars or writers. If they are from research institute, fine. If they are from university, fine. So be careful when you go for literature. Yes, government documents, even proceedings of conference, you are free to. But focus on those peer-reviewed journals, edited books, and books written by established scholars and researchers. You have the introduction, where you introduce those few points. Anyone going through your introduction will be able to say something about your statement of the problem. Anyone going through your statement of the problem will be able to tell you to know something about your review of literature. Now you come to another crucial area. In the introduction, you have introduced those issues you are going to examine. And you elaborate those in the statement of the problem. And in the review of literature, you are able to identify previous research and findings. Now you are in a better position to identify your area of research. You are not duplicating those previous research. So finally, you are clear about all these issues and come to your objective. Clearly formulated to ensure that they are easily understood and comprehensible. Again, don't have so many objectives, not too many objectives, okay? At the most 5, of course, depending on nature of your research work. Title should be precise, direct, as I said. Similarly, objectives must be very, very clear. It should not be very long. It should be focused. Easily understood and comprehensive. Based on problem and hypothesis if applicable, hypothesis or research questions that you raise. Particular issue to investigate or issues to investigate. You must be very clear now. If you are going to have 5 objectives, you must see that those 5 objectives or issues that you are going to raise are reflected in your statement of the problem and review of literature and also in your chapterization. Okay? Let's say you have 5 objectives. Similarly, you will have 5 chapters. Or you can combine 2 objectives into 1 chapter. You cannot have 5 objectives and 7 or 8 chapters now. Objectives must be again reflected finally in the chapterization. Generally, first chapter of your PhD synopsis is introduction, theoretical, conceptual, unless you want to discuss it separately in another chapter. If the nature of works calls for theoretical and conceptual framework, you can have in the second chapter conceptual and theoretical part separately. But if you want to combine it, you can do it in the introduction itself, the first chapter. Generally, the first chapter is in the form of background. To introduce a topic. Of course, you briefly mention all these objectives, statement of the problem, literature, so on and so forth. Yeah, again coming back to literature review. In the last paragraph of your review literature, you have to mention research gaps after reviewing all those literatures. You should be able to justify your area of research. Previous scholars or research works focus on these areas or issues, but no one has done any significant research on these areas or proposed area of study. So you are justifying your area of research, saying no duplicating of someone's work. You are going to produce original. innovative, and motivating research, having relevance element. Please treat research proposal as one entity. Consider your PhD synopsis as one entity. Anyone going through your synopsis and your dissertation thesis must have their continuity. You cannot say something in first chapter, begin totally something new. No. There should be continuity and linkages throughout. If somebody goes to your second chapter, he or she must be willing to go to next chapter till the end. It should be taken as one entity. Continuity throughout. Linkages must be there. So I have not mentioned chapterization here. Now you have finally identified your objectives. 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. Again, different universities will have different ways of having these objectives. In Nehu, we don't have even 4 objectives. Hardly. 3, 2, sometimes 4 perhaps. Millennium University will have 4, 5, 6 objectives. 5. It depends on how you look at it. So, if you have 4 chapters here, unless you are able to combine 2 objectives in one chapter, those objectives must be reflected in the chapters. You cannot have different objectives and different chapters in your scheme. That's what I said from the beginning. You introduce it. You begin with the title, encompassing all these issues. Anyone going through your first chapter, second, third chapter, statement of the problem, review of literature, must be able to look at the title. Title is comprehensive, appropriate, encompassing all these issues. It may not be very long topic and title. So I said choosing a title is very, very crucial. Appropriately chosen title will be able to capture all this. Your introduction, it will go back to your topic. Come to review of literature. Again, it will go back to your topic. Statement of the problem, yes. Title is appropriate. Objective, yeah. Title take care of all these objectives. Then finally, chapterization. Why? When you come to findings, don't give your findings random. Begin with your first objective. What are your findings on the first objective? You may discuss that objective in the first or second or second chapter. Go chapter-wise. Objective number 1, if you discuss in chapter 2, see the findings of that objective in that particular chapter. Your findings in one chapter or one objective may be 2, 3. Do that first. When you come to your findings, take up the first objective, these are the findings. Second objective, these are the findings. Not that you will first see the findings of last objective, third chapter, fourth chapter, no. You have to follow this carefully. So that will make your dissertation, your proposal attractive, convincing, reliable, feasible, and outcomes will be significant. Yes, in some research proposals, significance and justifications are asked. I think by now, if you are asked to mention significance of law study, those who have registered for PhD or those who are in the process of registering for PhD, you will be able to discuss something about the importance or significance of your research and how you are justifying your research. If you see today's lecture, it is continuous, interrelated, linkages. You cannot have a different literature review, come out with something in the objective statement of the problem now. Anything more? That's it for end of it. Is it? Yeah. Methodology, methods. Now, let's say you have everything. But how are you going to collect your data? What methodologies are you going to use? If you don't use appropriate methodology, even if you are able to identify those issues and problems, you may not be able to answer your research questions. So for that, you have to have research design and methods. Again, just go through briefly. I will not take time on this. Mostly you have qualitative, quantitative methods and also mixed approach, combining these two. I think some resource person will look into that. Qualitative, quantitative, mixed approach, sampling, all those. I'm not going to discuss here. But what you have to remember is research, design and methods of analysis will enable you to address the research problem you have identified. Depending on the nature of the problem that you identified, you'll have to choose appropriate tools and methodologies to interpret your research outcomes or results accurately and effectively. Unless you use those appropriate tools and methodologies, you will not be able to come up with definite findings, accurate and specific findings. So must be well written, clear and logically organized. Your methodology, design must be well written, very clearly and logically. Again I say here, where it is important to recognize or consider methods employed by other researchers, it is equally important to contemplate the methods that have not been used but could be. This is innovative research. Not only looking at those methods, but also questioning why a particular method was not used, which could have been appropriate one. So it's a long process. If you want to come to that level, you have to do your homework thoroughly. Right from choosing your title, long way to go. And you should be able to question this. If not during your PhD days, even after you complete your PhD, you must keep on asking why this methodology was used, why this was not used. This could have been more appropriate. That's what about research. So it is not simply a list of dust, just saying I'll interview 10%, 30%, no, that's not enough. Argument explaining why and how the task you have outlined will help you investigate the research problem and answer your research questions. That's what I say in research. You have to question yourself. You have to question other scholars. You have to question the works of other scholars. You have to see the agreements, disagreements, controversies, debates, discussions. And see to it that you are using relevant tools and methods to investigate and answer research questions or issues that you raise in the statement of the problem. Justifications that you give in the literature review, end of literature review, trying to fill up the research gaps. For that, you have to have this. Yeah, I think something more on this. Again, I see research is nothing but of questions and questions. When you talk about methods, research design methods, where will the study be conducted? Are you going to study that problem in the context of Mizoram? Yeah, before I forget. Sometimes scholars discuss at length theories after theories, concepts after concepts, Western models, non-Western countries, so on and so forth. Fine. But you have to contextualize those theories, concepts to your study. Yes, these scholars, theories, models look at this perspective from this point of view. But for the purpose of this study, this model, this theory, these concepts are relevant. You have to contextualize, okay? Otherwise, just discussing at length those theories, concepts, no meaning, will not have any weight. Yeah. Where will the study be conducted? How was the study location selected? Universe of the study. Why Nagaland? Why Mizoram? Why Arunachal Pradesh? Why Himachal Pradesh? What is the importance of that place? How are you going to select? Urban, rural? Sometimes you tend to work on your own communities, fine. But try to go beyond. If you are doing on your own community, you may not be able to find out significant findings. Everything appears to be clear and non-cheap. But if you work on somebody's community, other communities, you have more curiosity, and your findings will be very significant. I'm not saying don't work on your own community. So selection is crucial. Location, place. Remember the three unities, find excellent place. What population will you include? Cluster of people. When we say population, means cluster of people. Complete enumeration, sample survey, or case study. Again, a little. If it's a sample survey, how will be the sample size? How it has to be determined? What sampling techniques will be employed to select sample units or respondents? How will be the sources of information, what methods and tools will be used to collect information? How will the quality of data be ensured? How will data be processed? How will data be analyzed? Which statistical tools will be employed? Once you come to methods of research, all these issues will come. Okay, it could be descriptive, it could be analytical, it could be historical, it could be exploratory, it could be explanatory, qualitative, quantitative, mixed approaches, all those relevant to your study. Okay. As I said, in this another 3 or 4 lectures on the methodology, I am sure other resource persons will do justice to this section. Okay, let's see next, if any. Yeah. Oh, what did you wanna? No? Yeah. Again, it must reiterate the significance of your research proposal and provides a concise recap of the entire studies. Brief summary of your thesis must be reflected in the concluding chapter. Recapitulating the entire study, emphasizing why your research is unique and different from the rest or earlier studies. If you are not able to establish the uniqueness of your research, you have not done justice to research. It may not be very significant work, but it must have some uniqueness. Yeah. Why it promotes knowledge. Existing literature, you said, is not enough. So how your research is going to contribute to knowledge? Additional works on your area of research. Why the research problem merits investigation? In the concluding chapter, you have to mention all this. A reader of this section should gain an understanding of the rationale behind the study. See, whenever we examine PhD thesis, we look at all this first. Introduction, objective statement of the problem, literature review, and then come to conclusion. And then go to other chapters. So that you are able to examine the thesis properly. You know something about introduction, the outcome, goals and objectives of the research, how the scholar plans to undertake, methods used by the scholar, and accordingly the findings, how the scholar recaps the entire study. Findings, so we can relate first and last chapter, and then see other chapters. So it's very important. First and last chapter, you have to take extra care. Behind the study, the specific objectives it aims to achieve. Research question is sought to answer. Designs and methods employed, as well as the potential implication arising from your proposed study of the research problem, awareness of how your study situates itself within the broader scholarship of research topic. I have not mentioned the findings here, okay? But as I said, after you discuss all this, you must have your findings. Findings of the first chapter. I'm not saying you write first chapter, findings of first chapter is this, second chapter, no. You don't have to mention the chapters. But first objective, first finding, second objective, second finding, third objective, third findings. So the concluding chapter must have that measured findings. And if you still feel further studies needs to be carried out, you can also mention limitations, if any, which you are not able to incorporate, which you are not able to examine. That also could be put forward so that future researchers can learn from there. Okay. I think we'll stop here. No? Have to go for another Viva. I hope you learned something.
Yes, sir.
From my own experience, okay. So, wish you all the best, especially from outside. Vietnam is peaceful state. People from mainstream India think differently about Northeast. Means Baijan area, if I go there, I'll be shot dead. These things will happen now. It's much, much safer. Okay. So we talk about integration of Northeast to mainstream India. Whenever I go to the seminars, these places, I say no. Mainstream India must integrate with Northeast India. Northeast India is not asking for this integration of India. We believe in being Indian citizens. Though Nagas fought for independence. You are from Nagaland? You are from Nagaland. They fought for 70 years. I hope. Even after 20, 30 years, whenever you look back to your